here today. We're going to talk about driving down utility costs, and very happy to have two industry professionals on the call with us who will be describing a little bit how we as retailers and fuel suppliers to dealers who operate stores can help drive down our utility costs. Utility costs are one of the larger operating expenses we have. Labor tends to take up maybe 30% or so of a typical store's gross profit dollars. We have credit card fees, which can be up in the 10% of gross profit dollars or above range. And then it's really about utilities falling number 3 on the list, which, depending on the amount of food service the store does and other loads that it carries, can be anywhere between 4 and 8% of store gross profit dollars. So anything we can do to move the needle and drive down our utility costs can be helpful to our bottom lines at the end of the day. So just wanted to share briefly about Chet, who will be starting us out. Chet Puckett is the manager of energy performance services at Schneider Electric. Chet's a licensed electrical engineer, and he's been in the energy industry for 42 years, 23 years with a utility company in Memphis, and then the past 11 years at Schneider Electric. So we're looking forward to the insight that Chet will bring on utilities and also diagnostic ways to save energy in our stores. And then Andy Hinckley will be joining us as well from Westside Solutions, where he's president and CEO. He's been in the industry 23 years. His firm procures energy equipment and installs it at sites, and he's a former Marine. A couple ground rules, or just lay of the land for the phone or call that we're having. I've got everybody on mute to kind of prevent the background music, noise, phone calls, etc., from interfering with our call here today. So if you have a question, please feel free to type it into the dialog box that's in the GoToWebinar framework over on probably on the right side of your computer. There's a little chat area that you can type questions into as we go throughout the call. I'll see those questions and then can relay them at the appropriate time onto our various presenters. And I am going to be recording this webinar, and we'll be sending out a link to the rebroadcast as well as to the slides should you want to view it at a later date or pass it on and share it with a colleague. So that's a little bit of an intro about the call. And at this point, Chet, I'm going to hand you the controls and let you go ahead and take it away.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's see if it'll grab the presentation. Are you seeing my screen?
We are, yeah. So it looks good. I think you can put it in slideshow mode like you have and take it away.
Well, thank you, Jed and Andy. I'm honored to be here with both of you and present today on some opportunities that we believe are real valued opportunities for customers in your segment. And thanks to all of the Below the Line members for attending today. So hope you find something valuable out of what's said today, and we certainly want to make this informative and helpful and focusing on ways to manage energy for your facilities and your portfolio of stores. So today we're going to be speaking on energy performance services and a new way of really viewing what energy management is about for your facilities. And before I get into the meat of that, I certainly want to introduce my company, Schneider Electric, and probably most of you know it as a company that provides electrical circuit breakers, square D breakers, a variety of equipment and software and hardware for all of the electric industry across the world. We're almost a $24 billion company with over 150,000 employees countrywide or worldwide. We have presence and feet on the ground certainly in North America, Western Europe, Asia Pacific, and the rest of the world. So I work for a division of Schneider which is called Global Solutions, Energy and Sustainability Services, and we have 40 offices in 20 countries worldwide. We serve over 4,500 clients and manage over $30 billion worth of energy for those customers. And because of the success we've been able to provide over the years, we've had a 95% retention rate. And I think that speaks well of our integrity, our trusted relationship that we have with our customers, and we certainly value that over all things, to value the customer needs. So with that said, we do have over 4,500 customers and clients that we serve with energy services, which involve procurement, sustainability, and demand-side services. And you can see from this chart some names that are probably familiar to many of you, some of which are in your sector of convenience stores and the retail sector, casual dining. We also serve large industries, and as well as cities and utilities. And you can see on the bottom line there, Encore and Burbank Water and Power and several others. So we are consultants to a variety of customer segments and the area of energy global management specialists. So I want to talk to you specifically about this energy dilemma that we all face as consumers of energy, regardless of the sector. It also applies, as I've had a 26-year career in a utility that's a 3-service utility, one of the largest in the nation, Memphis Light Gas and Water, and that we all, including utilities, face this challenge of managing supply costs and sustainability pressures and demand challenges. But in today's environment, there are opportunities to not only be energy efficient, but to transform your energy into an asset. And I want to explain what that means, and I want to hopefully transfer some information to you that will be helpful in understanding where there are opportunities not only to be energy efficient, but also take advantage of some opportunities in the energy markets. And so I'm going to start with this slide here that really depicts what utilities are doing to manage their energy in today's environment. And this is a bit of a complicated slide, and I won't go into too much detail, but it is a slide that I used from Telvent's utility group conference in 2012. Telvent is another division of Schneider Electric, which serves the utility industry with hardware, software, and consultative services. But let me point to you what this slide means and historically what the utilities have done in managing energy. This y-axis is megawatts, the x-axis is time. And if you eliminate everything else on the slide but that blue line on the top, this is a typical demand profile for a utility in trying to meet users' loads with their generation and distribution transmission assets. And this is what they typically have done in the past in providing just a flat service fee for end users and providing you with a reliable source of energy. And in times past, when their inability to meet those peak demands occurred, we would experience brownouts, blackouts, and certainly those are not optimal for anyone. They don't sell power, and so they're not making money, they're losing money, and you also lose money because you don't have power to operate your facilities. So in order to explain where the opportunities reside in today's utility markets and energy markets and how it applies to you, I'd like to go over a real brief history of how the utility industry operates and how it evolved into the conditions we see now, which populate the rest of this slide, and we'll discuss it. So our current system of energy production and delivery dates back really to the New Deal era, where Congress brought an end to the tight rein on large interstate holdings companies that controlled more than 75% of the country's electric generation capacity. And the Public Utility Holding Company Act of 1935, which is known as PUCA, forced those holding companies to break up. And it gave utilities a government-sanctioned monopoly over a limited territory. And in exchange for that, the utilities agreed to provide a reliable electric service to all customers at a regulated rate, and thus we had regulated utilities. The law resulted in the formation of nearly 300 power systems and 800 rural cooperatives throughout the United States. The result was the onset of federal regulation of electric power. And the Securities and Exchange Commission was provided with authority to require those holding companies to divest themselves until each became a single consolidated system serving a prescribed geographic area. Now, at that same time, the Federal Power Commission, which is now known as the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or FERC, was created for the purpose of regulating those interstate wholesale electric markets. And you may recall that that just continued over a long period of time until about 1973. And I was in the utility industry in that time, and I remember this well. And perhaps some of you do as well, that in 1973, the OPEC's worldwide oil embargo had a dramatic impact, not only on gasoline, but also on the electric industry. And although the embargo was most famous for creating those long lines that everybody had to wait through to get gasoline, it also produced sharp increases in electric utility costs. And the result was a surge of interest in alternative forms of energy. So in 1978, Congress passed another law, legislation, to require utilities to purchase power from companies which generated power using renewable sources of energy, such as cogeneration. And the Public Utility Regulatory Policies Act, or PURPA, required utilities to use renewable energy, which was produced from wind, solar, and other sources that belong to other people. So PUCA and PURPA would ultimately later become viewed as barriers to a workable national electric deregulation environment. Thus, in the 1980s, a move began to increase that the electric generation sector would find ways to be more efficient, and by letting these independent entrepreneurs compete and supply power to the utility. In 1992, Congress passed additional legislation which allowed generating companies to be exempt from regulation and have access to the nation's distribution system at just and reasonable rates. And this developed an open door to the restructuring of the electric industry by allowing market competition among these power generators. In the 1990s, deregulation was pushed by commercial customers like yourselves who were rankled by utilities that built too many power plants and saddled customers with the cost or the tab of those expensive generating facilities. Deregulation was supposed to let those customers buy electricity from more efficient competing suppliers. And to prevent the utilities from favoring their own plants, many of them had to sell their generation facilities to unregulated affiliates or independent power wholesalers. And by the mid-1990s, large industry consumers sought to escape those high costs of power in some parts of the country, like California, that came as a result of building these expensive nuclear power plants. And at the same time, independent power producers like Enron were actively lobbying to be able to sell power to those big consumers. But the political pressures and deregulation mounted because the breakup of the $30 million utility industry meant huge amounts of money could be made. Ultimately, the intent and purpose of deregulation was presented as a way to improve the quality of people's lives by lowering the cost of a critical commodity, which is electricity. And deregulation was supposed to do for the power industry what was done for the airline industry and telecommunications industries, bringing consumers lower prices, and more competition. But as of March 31st, 1998, California was one of the first states in the country to deregulate their electric industry. For about a year and a half, deregulation worked fairly well in California, but their success did not last. Around June of 2000, prices of electricity in California and across the country began to rise at unprecedented rates to an all-time high. When I was at Memphis Light, Gas, and Water, we had some deals that we were trying to help colleagues in Cincinnati that had the price of electricity at $10,000 a megawatt hour, but I think the new Wall Street Journal published that the $7,500 deal was the highest actual deal that was transacted in that time. Excuse me.
So Chet, where are we today?
Yeah, where we are today is we're in the deregulated market environment, and because deregulation is in 23 states, including the District of Columbia, we have a different environment. And the environment really resides in these two sectors, the deregulated markets and the regulated markets. And because the deregulated marketplace, the price of electricity fluctuates by seasons and by weather and by time of day, the prices are really governed by the amount of available generation capacity to meet the demand. So consumers currently still have somewhat of a flat rate for their use of electricity, and it's not based on time of use as much as it could be. Even though there's technology that's available that can help a customer facilitate the use of their energy in real time, it still isn't fully deployed yet. And so we're still struggling to get that opportunity, or up until now, that opportunity fully available to customers like yourselves. And utilities have, over the last couple of decades, in order to try to manage around what you're seeing on the screen now, they've offered a variety of rates and programs, such as time of use rates and interruptible rates, real-time pricing rates, to help solve their management problems. And those programs have been extended to certain customer classes. But as recently as the last few years, FERC has put some new rules in place that have mandated that electric loads, your refrigeration, your lighting, your HVAC loads, now have the same economic value as spinning generation assets. And so your electric loads can now be used to participate in the electric industry as a demand asset, and that's what I meant by transforming your energy into an asset. Utilities can now make your curtailable or manageable loads part of their supply portfolio mix and pay you for the reduction of selected loads from their daily peak demand events, and this is called, in some areas, demand response. There's a host of ways in which that's being applied, and customers who own either wind, solar, battery assets, or loads that can be curtailed or managed in real time provide that additional supply portfolio mix for utilities for grid balancing and managing their ancillary services in near real time. And so what you see on this chart is how that's evolving for a utility. The economic and demand reduction and peak management have tremendous economic opportunities for utilities as they are taking assets that you might have, like battery storage or ice bear, thermal storage for offsetting your cooling needs. They are able to take those and put them into their portfolio mix for opportunities for managing their loads and saving money for themselves, but also offering some of the value of that back to you.
So, Chet, if I can summarize in short here, I think the kind of point you're trying to make is these utilities, have this bell curve of demand, and what they would really like to have is more of a flat demand that's constant across time or across season, and they're in some markets able to offer incentives with pricing structures to try to flatten out the demand that they face, and that's where opportunity may lie for retailers.
Exactly. And so this is still their problem in managing these peak events, but in participating with the utility now. And as we listen and hear, even in the media, talking about smart cities and smart grids and smarter loads, we have this idea, and the evolution of the electric industry is making, again, a stronger connection between customers and the utilities in using loads actively to help manage this portfolio of needs for the utilities and providing appropriate economic incentives for customers to do that. So when we talk to customers, we talk about an energy management life cycle. It's about strategy. It's about procuring your energy. It's about understanding what's going on within your facilities with enough information about how you're operating your facilities, and then taking that data and translating it into understandable strategies and focus on how to optimize or use that in the marketplace. And that also turns into ways in which you can be providing your measuring and validation and reporting capabilities to your organization and site level folks to be accountable for the overall strategy. So if your organizations haven't really thought about these 5 segments of energy management life cycle, it's something worth considering, because without a roadmap, without the strategy that overlays what and how you're going to procure energy and use energy within your organization and be efficient about that use of energy, it really becomes very segmented and very disconnected. And so we look at this very holistically as a energy management life cycle. And what we really want to focus on today is how companies like yourself are challenged with managing energy. And we find that a majority of customers, 89% of the ones that have been surveyed, have started focusing on energy management and their electric costs. But only 40% of them are really allocating funds for investing in those energy programs and strategies within their facilities. So they're faced with these 4 questions. How am I to develop a strategy? I really don't know where to start and what actions I need to prioritize around. I don't have the full picture. I don't have the resources to take data, even if I have it at my site. In a lot of cases, all you have are utility bills. But if you have a lot of building management system data or interval data, I really don't know what kind of I don't know how to translate that into something actionable. And then the other challenge is having the expertise to really translate that data into something that I can put into action. What is the right type of action that needs to be taken? Ultimately, everyone's trying to manage around cost. They want to limit their inefficiencies, and they want to maximize their assets that they currently have. So what we've seen, and what typically is going on now and has gone on for a lot of years, is companies are taking very tactical approaches toward their energy management. They're going out and doing retrofits, they're doing energy audits, or they may be looking at how they can reduce their carbon footprint, but there's nothing from a strategic point, or there's little from a strategic point of view that's being rolled up, as we call this energy management life cycle, where all of these elements are being addressed. And what we're seeing is about 50% of the companies we serve and are talking to are moving from tactical to strategic energy management. And what that really means is that taking a service that looks and focuses on performance and really focuses on comprehensive strategies helps you prioritize what programs are important and based on your goals and your objectives, and really anticipates the trends and needs of your organization with the trends and needs and trends of the energy industry. And developing a partnership with a company like Schneider that can help you really take their expertise and marry it with your strategies and goals, develops that partnership that really can take expertise in technology and in the marketplace to bring clarity around all these energy complexities and the big data that's available. So you can take all that with this partnership and really turn that into measurable, verifiable results that provide sustained performance. What we've seen with tactical is that you can make an investment, and if it's not being measured or verified that performance is being sustained, behavior changes, equipment degrades, and if you don't have vision on it and measure and validate it, within even a year, you can start losing quickly the value of the investment. So it's important to be able to see what's going on in near real time. So that brings us to this new way of viewing energy management. And it's about connecting to your facilities, taking the data that may be available or that you want to be available from your facility, analyzing it appropriately, strategically, in light of all the market opportunities and energy efficiency opportunities, and getting a service that points you in the right directions, consolidates this into the actions that are meaningful for you right now based on your goals and objectives, and transforming that data into a sustained energy performance program where taking energy from your metering systems or your building management systems, or if need be, Schneider certainly has those capabilities and can provide them, and bringing it into an analytics team like we have in our Energy Bureau, and performing the automated analytics as well as the intelligence that we have in the marketplace to focus through a client advisor exactly what you need to do to be focused and sustain performance and value. So typically what a C-store and a casual dining in the retail space has is a typical on-site solution of looking at the rooftop units with smart thermostats, a building meter, measuring the temperatures on their walk-in freezers and coolers, and controlling lights. Bringing that data through a cloud-based system that allows you visibility into that data and allows a team like ours to analyze it for you really gets that clear focus on what opportunities may exist within your facilities that are being missed that can't be seen through a utility bill. And so this two-way dialogue between us and the customers, we have for the retail space 2 levels of service where we're looking at the building meter only and looking and really prioritizing actions and tracking performance and measuring what's going on, providing some clarity to that for our customers. But as we really want to dig in deeper and actually provide control and management of facilities, we can get deeper providing not only the building level insight, but the systems level, which includes your lights, your HVAC, and other systems, and really dig in and provide that continuous savings improvement that continually looks at data, continually takes action on what's going on and when there's need for change. And so what you'll ultimately get from a solution like this or a service like this is really centralized enterprise-wide services that provide strategy, provide scorecarding for your facilities that rank them from the top 10 best to the top 10 worst, providing you with an energy advisor that really makes it easy for you to focus on what needs to be done next. Where do I really need to spend my time and resources and investment dollars? Where are the savings opportunity? How can we identify those quickly and prioritize those? What kinds of operation enhancements do I need to know about so that I'm getting that information back to my facilities promptly and on time to not only give them alerts about conditions that might indicate hardware failures, but also comfort optimization so that they're getting the best experience when customers enter their facilities. Ultimately, we want to help customers reach their goals by sustaining performance over time and capturing that energy cost reduction by continuous measurement and validation. And so what we see, I'm sorry, you got a question?
For you. Yeah. I was just curious, in your experience, where for a retailer some of the biggest savings opportunities are.
Yeah, and right now it's really a lot of savings can be found just in an understanding where energy is being consumed and when. When looking at a utility bill you're always looking in the rearview mirror. You really don't know what contributed to your demand charges or what contributed to your total energy consumption. And if there's a big variance from one month to the next, or from this month last year to this month this year, you really have a difficult time understanding where that is. oftentimes it can be degrading equipment that can't be pinpointed because you don't have visibility on it. A lot of times, obviously, refrigeration equipment and HVAC equipment, as well as lighting, if it's not monitored for performance, you really don't know how it's degrading over time. And that's why I think measuring and validating performance of selected loads is important. This type of service value gives you the kinds of results that you'd expect. When you want to have that kind of information to know where the problems are and what to spend time and money and energy on to mitigate those, you got to know where to look. And visibility into that and with these systems provides that.
And so Schneider, probably among other firms, give me a little picture, but they provide these systems that myself as a retailer, I can stick into my store. It's some kind of equipment that monitors my utility usage. That feedback then goes to somebody in your facility who can monitor the systems for me, so I don't necessarily have to do that.
Exactly.
Time to do it, and then provide me back feedback and recommendations on where my greatest loads are occurring and how I might be able to shift them to other uses or other times of the day.
Exactly, and that's what these examples of deliverables are, is these scorecards and health checks, which really give you kind of a red light, green light, or an okay assessment, health check, if you will, of your buildings, as well as pinpointing opportunities where you need to spend your energy and your time on the opportunities for reducing your consumption. You know, being able to see that information and being able to report it from not only a local point of view, but also from a corporate and an enterprise capability is some of the resources we provide our customers through what we call Resource Advisor. And it really gives you a global visibility of all your sites and some standard reports or customized reports that you can create on your own. And then at the site level, you can really start digging in through these analytic modules that we have that lets you see not only site by site, but load by load comparisons where equipment is being is consuming energy and the metrics that make sense to you, whether it's kilowatts per square foot or per cooling and heating and cooling degree days, or by product throughput, by clients throughput, whatever the metrics are. We've got a variety of ways to not only report it, but also identify these anomalies that might exist when we have eyes on the site and on the loads, to look at these anomalies that happen on weekends or where equipment's left on and could be turned off. And so being able to pinpoint these comparative trends between facilities and create these metrics allows you to track all of your energy. We're talking primarily about electricity, but we have the ability to capture electricity, gas, water, steam, air, and other metrics that would give you whatever reporting capabilities you really need to be focused on the appropriate strategies. And again, with our expertise, we can certainly help develop the appropriate action plans.
But the big picture, I guess, is what you're saying, Chet, is if you really want to move your costs and drive them down, you need to identify where extra usage is being added, and so you got to have some system to be able to monitor this so you can make informed decisions. And I thought it was interesting on it looked like your system there, where I can stack up my stores against each other and perhaps see where one store is using a lot more utilities than another store, even though they should be somewhat, comparable, perhaps in the amount of traffic that's going through, size of the
Exactly. As you can see here, these sites are comparing each of their lighting, their HVAC, refrigeration loads to each other, site by site, and you can see very quickly that the Hong Kong site, is using a lot more energy for HVAC than the other stores. And so again, these are quick snapshots. You can go quickly, with our team and with the resources that we provide our customers with the kinds of quick snapshot visibility to these opportunities where attention needs to be directed.
And Chet, I think you had a slide before I distracted you a little bit, but on the kind of savings that people could generated? I mean, is it reasonably small? Is it quite a bit? I'm curious to
it'll vary
about what the opportunity is.
Yeah, the opportunity varies depending on the level of visibility you have and the level of engagement that with a service like this that you might choose to do. And customers have different approaches toward this. Some of them just want to have a report that tells them that their utility costs or have some way of being validated against actual measurements for the facility. So they want to capture the energy for their building, and so the energy mains. Some folks want to capture the sub-metered loads, and all the way down to actually monitoring all their systems, their HVAC, refrigeration, and lighting. The deeper that you have involvement with a company that provides you the analytics and the vision and the focus on what's going on within your facility, we can get all the way down to actual control, where you tell us how you want your facility controlled, the time periods, and the manner in which you want it done, and we can actually implement that strategy and make sure it's always deploying that way. So it varies from customer to customer. Some folks don't like that kind of control. They just want to give reports and let the sites manage that for themselves. All that can be done in an appropriate fashion to meet the client needs. But the opportunities will vary, particularly in the C-store space and retail space, from 5 to 20%, again, depending on the level of involvement and the level of control.
And so as I view utility costs, which we ultimately want to drive down and get lower, I kind of see three levers or prongs that you can utilize as a retailer. One is just to conserve, maybe get products in that are more energy efficient, so you're just overall using less energy. Two, if you're in a deregulated state or something like that, you can negotiate with a utility to actually buy better. Or three, and I guess that's a lot what you're getting at here, is monitor your systems to be able to move your consumption of energy to times where it's more price advantage to you and drive the cost down. Am I understanding that right?
You're exactly right on target. And again, as these price opportunities evolve, and we have a number of them that exist now, but they continue to evolve as more real-time control and interaction with the utilities evolve and exist, and we have that capability now. You're going to see the value of interaction in real time or near real time with utilities to increase the value of that to your participation. So we see, depending on where you are, where your facilities are in the marketplace, demand response, automated demand response, and these new real-time ancillary services with battery storage and thermal storage will increase the value of operating your facilities in those markets when you provide visibility and control.
Mm-hmm. And Chet, I want to move on to Andy here, but one question that came in from the audience was, what's the % of savings that Schneider charges?
We don't take a shared savings in our fee in our approach. What we do is we have a very cost-effective equipment solution if that's needed, but ours is a monthly fee. All of the services we provide on the energy and sustainability side of the business is for a flat fee. And so based on the number of data points and how frequently you need advice or control or connection with us, it could be daily, it could be weekly or monthly, it determines a flat fee that we will charge for that consultory service. And for a lot of customers in this space, it's very, very cost effective.
Well, Chet, I appreciate that, and if anybody else has questions for Chet, we'll do a little brief Q&A at the end, so feel free to type them into your dialog box. But Andy, I'm going to move on to you here, and I'll go ahead and make you the presenter for our time here, because we were talking about ways to lower our costs. One is to buy better, two is to move consumption, and three is kind of in the conservation side, and I think you have some input on the conservation side and how we can lower our prices.
I sure do, and thanks, Chet, for sharing what you shared. Can you, Jed, see the GoToWebinar deal on the right side of my screen, or no?
Nope. Yeah, just see your
Okay.
slideshow up there.
Okay, very good. Just want to make sure that. Hi, everyone. I'm Andy Hinckley with Westside Solutions in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I promise that we'll get you out of here within that hour time frame. When we were organizing this webinar event, we looked at kind of dovetailing Westside Solutions information about energy efficiency project planning and actually implementing projects along with what Schneider Electric does. And we thought that it was a very beneficial thing to get into some of that strategic thing first and then really kind of quickly go through a practical way to start to take advantage of some of the things that are happening out in the marketplace. I'll kind of get to the first slide here. For some reason, I'm not able to do it. There we go. First things first, when you are getting into an energy efficiency project, there's some planning that needs to take place. And how we look at the planning process is that product research kind of has to lead the way. There are a bunch of different solutions out there in energy efficiency products, and today we're specifically going to be talking about some curb-to-cooler type of products. And ultimately, when you look at the emerging technology of LED, which really probably is more mainstream than emerging today, there's a lot of manufacturing process review and development that needs to go on. With respect to an energy efficiency project, the first thing that needs to be done is what are the technologies that are available? What are those products out there that are qualified and that are actually designed well and then manufactured in kind of a documentable, repeatable way that meet all of the requirements of a solid product that's going to be high quality and cost effective. As it relates to LED products, as an example, all LED products that are purchased and installed in a C-store application should be either DLC listed or ENERGY STAR rated. And what that basically means is that DLC is a third-party validation organization that validates the claims of LED manufacturers to their performance, whether that's lumens created, which creates light level on the ground, the wattage and the power savings that they're claiming, and ultimately that long life that LED manufacturers are promising. So it really matters that in a product research mode that technologies are looked at and there's a deep dive taken into really the integrated way that those LED manufacturers are bringing their product to market. Another thing that matters is supplier development. Developing relationships with strong, competent suppliers and manufacturers is really critical. And ultimately, we understand that people in different sectors of the marketplace, including C-stores, are focused on doing their business and may not have a bench strength, a department, or a procurement kind of strategy related to being able to spend time doing the investigation, the identification, and then spend time with manufacturers and understanding how their products are manufactured, designed and manufactured, and then brought into the marketplace and be a good fit for a certain organization. Again, another section
point you're making, Andy, is that all products aren't created equal out here in this space, and so it's important to invest the time to make sure you're getting a quality, energy efficient product.
Absolutely, very, very good point. And you have said much less words. That is exactly what I'm trying to say. And to make real clear, the DLC, the Design Life Consortium Group, really helps validate that process, and it's a good thing. Continuing into the energy efficiency project planning, financing and incentives, basically from a rebate and incentive standpoint, going back to some of the things that Chet was talking about with demand reduction. Every state in the country has kind of been tasked with identifying opportunities through rebates and incentives programs to reduce demand that is out in the market space. There are retail programs, commercial programs, industrial, and then certainly residential. And in the space that you folks find yourselves doing business, there are some tremendous opportunities with rebates and incentives. And if organizations have, if you will, hole in the ground or sites in different regions of the country, different utility companies are encountered with, different states, different counties, that type of thing, there can be a myriad of different projects or opportunities and rebates and incentives are out there. So being able to identify what the best solutions are in each different region matters. Also, with fuel brands, with the major fuel companies, brands, there are some awesome incentives, especially for outdoor lighting products. And so you really have to try to get your arms around that and kind of fit that into the planning of the project. And then ultimately the project implementation. Once all of that work is done and you've identified where you want to head and what manufactured products you want to work with and understand where the economic benefits are, selecting a supplier, which typically isn't the manufacturer, but a supplier, a kind of a one-stop shop organization, in our view, is really the way to go, because they can kind of take all of the variables in the project and put them into play, but they need to understand the manufactured product that they're supplying to a solution. They also need to understand the warranty processes, the warranties that are available, and then we find that today it is fairly typical to have a labor warranty of 1 to 2 years, meaning there are going to be products that fail within their warranty period. A 5 to 10-year warranty period is pretty typical today, and with expected life of sometimes 15 to 25 years, products are going to fail, and we understand now that people who are installing these products understand that if they've done their work and vetted and identified high-quality, low-cost products that meet the needs of the customer, that they're going to stand behind even the labor as it relates to replacing any failed products. At Westside Solutions, we actually have a...
Andy, to interrupt you here, but going back to that financing and incentives point that you were talking about, I mean, it seems like when you get this energy-efficient equipment, whether it be LED lighting or other things, you mentioned all these incentives that are out there. And for a marketer who's busy doing what they do best, which is, marketing fuel or inside merchandise or whatever, it can often be hard to track down what all these incentives are. Are there resources out there that allow you to identify what the incentives are that are available? I mean, maybe that's even something that Westside does too.
Yeah, there are resources, and certainly Westside Solutions certainly has a bench strength in that area. We've been talking with Chet over the last couple of weeks of setting up this webinar, and I know that Schneider Electric does that, and we're working together with them in a couple areas that they have some strengths and a little more knowledge. But one of the things that Westside does is kind of have a bench strength and a deep experience and knowledge of those things. And again, in some ways, I suppose what we're trying to do is allow the executive teams of the C-store markets, the marketers that we deal with, to exactly do that, is focused on their operations and kind of look at us as an extension to kind of maximize the opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Andy.
Sure. On to the next slide, curb to cooler. You notice there, I think that comprehensive projects are something that really needs to be looked at, especially in the season, if you will, of rebates and incentives that are available. Those are going to go away at some point. So if organizations are truly looking at tapping into and upgrading, or what we call site transformation of their energy using components in lighting and other types of products, they really need to look at comprehensive projects to help offset that capital expenditure. And so in our organization, we call it curb to cooler. Pretty easily explainable there, that anything that you see from the curb all the way back into the cooler, there are opportunities there for energy efficiency. And again, the C-store market specifically is quite unique in that energy efficiency matters and savings, and as Chet was indicating, but this is really site enhancement type lighting typically. You're trying to draw customers in, and so from a curb to cooler, if everything looks consistent all the way back into a cooler from a customer, a client, potential client pulling in the driveway up to the dispenser, things are going to go well. So in the process that typically is launched, the site survey is done. At our organization, it's a kind of a no-cost survey. We go out and survey from the curb all the way to the cooler, and that audit then becomes a quotation. The quote is usually fit into the vetted products that have been identified for all lighting and refrigeration measures. All brand and utility incentives and rebates are included in that, and a quotation is delivered typically that shows energy and maintenance savings, because these products not only allow for great energy savings because they are built in robust fashion. They really eliminate the need for maintenance for several years, where that opportunity is a savings opportunity. Typically in the quoted product process with the curb to cooler that we offer, we show an IRR, a rate of return, along with an ROI, and I think that Schneider Electric's goal is under a 2-year type payback period. That's typically what we're looking for as well. And we also try to get business people to think like business people, as this is an investment and that there's a return. And so our rate of returns are typically we're shooting for 45 to 50% annual return on a 10-year type return. And then they also should include project lead time, because there's a lot of staging as it relates to product procurement, installation services. As they align with the rebates and the incentives that are out there, there's typically a shelf life on the pre-approval of those rebates and incentives, whether those are from utilities or states or even the brands, the fuel brands. And then the next step is installation. Pre-approval is taken care of. All of the documentation is taken care of by organizations like Westside. Installation schedules are set and completed, and then final incentive or rebate paperwork is completed. And then, again, as I indicated earlier, warranties. Manufacturers typically are not involved with that type of installation direct. The supplier typically becomes the supplier of record, and so now they become similar to what Westside does, a one-stop shop or one point of contact when there's any issues with regards to any warranty claims and failures. So I'll quickly go through this. I know that we're a little squeezed on time. Next couple slides really are just going to show some C-store specific opportunities. On this first slide here, you see some before and after pictures of some canopies that we've done. This may be actually the same canopy down below. I don't know quite if that is, but typically there are opportunities with canopy lights, pole lights, flood, wall pack, and stopper lights. There's great LED options out there. And what we want people to understand is that because, again, it's a site enhancement opportunity with regards to C-store space, there's 50-80% reduction in energy opportunities, 100% maintenance reduction, meaning elimination. Warranties are awesome. But what you need to understand is the light levels are enhanced in such a way, and the quality of the light that is being produced by LED supplied product that is installed, that people actually feel better under that light and are drawn to it. And what typically happens is when people are comfortable in settings, they typically spend more money. And so we have done some studies year over year with some of our customers, and we have seen that when LED canopy lights alone are put into a location, that in that nighttime lighting space, in that time frame, fuel sales increases anywhere from 8 to 11%. That's a pretty big deal. And again, that really is specific to the quality of the light and the fact that the light does not degrade like the typical product that's in the air today. It stays consistent for many, many years. Next slide talks about the interior LED opportunities. You can see, again, some before and after pictures down at the bottom of the slide there, and you can notice that the products themselves under the LED lighting on the bottom portion of that slide, the colors in the detail and the print really pop, and that adds visual acuity to what people see, the human eye sees. And so, again, not just energy savings and maintenance opportunities there from a cost reduction standpoint, but really what happens is that product sales can really increase based on having a nice crisp light that is in that area. And then finally, related to the kind of the curb to cooler model, I spoke about the outdoor lighting and the indoor lighting, which is overhead and anything like that. There's also a case, anything in the case that it's an opportunity. There's LED products for case lighting. You can see some before and after there. Again, we're eliminating fluorescent technology on a regular basis. Not only is there a lighting enhancement opportunity there, energy savings, but there's the BTU savings. The LED just does not produce as much heat as fluorescent. And then EC motors and door heat controllers go into evaporator fans, and the motors do, and really smart technologies injected there, along with anti-sweat door heat controllers, and same type of thing there. We can put smart technology into these areas and basically reduce the runtime by about 80% of those things that typically run a 24/7 period. So the reality is, in a comprehensive package or program or project, that's typically what we look at. That's kind of the steps we look at in getting into implementation. And as time has moved on here, in fact, we're starting to do some work with another Below the Line Club group, and within a couple days they've called, and we're doing surveys, and then ultimately we walk through that process and really make it easy for executives and management personnel of the C-store markets to really kind of take something that sounds like a great idea, along with the things that Chet talked about and these demand reductions, and truly in a practical, implementable way, get some things done fairly quickly and with high-quality products that are really going to bring what you're looking for them to bring.
And I like that high-quality product kind of note that you drive home there. I mean, when you, as a customer, you walk into a C-store with LED lighting, then you go into one without, the one almost seems dingy and you know, old relative to the newer one. And as you said, pretty much it's mainstream now for firms to be moving to that LED lighting in the industry.
Right. Yep. Sure is.
And so you get not only the cost savings because you've got, you know, lower utility costs, but there's also the uptick in sales that come from having a, you know, a brighter experience, better experience for the customer.
Right on.
One question that came up from the audience, and Chet, it may be directed to you, but it was about the differences between deregulated states and regulated states. A lot of our members are in deregulated states, and what are the advantages or relative advantages of a deregulated state versus a regulated state?
Well, obviously in a deregulated state, you're going to have a variety of market-based opportunities where the suppliers, you have supplier choice. That's where a company and our division of Schneider shines. We've done this for nearly 30 years. In that when natural gas was deregulated and now electricity is almost half of the country is deregulated, you have those opportunities to go out and shop and get the best value of energy supply for your organization because you have choices. And those choices also provide competitive opportunities in programs like the automated demand response, time of use. California is now mandated that the utilities must procure, I think it's nearly 3 gigawatts of energy storage as part of their portfolio, which they don't own. They can own some of it, but a lot of it's going to be customer-owned. So ice storage, battery storage, all of those opportunities for retail and even all the way down to residential to have some sort of asset like that is going to be an advantage to them. Where in regulated markets, you're going to have a set number of rates and opportunities to really operate within, but regardless, either way, you've got to understand your supply side needs and capabilities in order to develop a demand side strategy.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you guys very much, Chet and Andy, for participating in the call, and all the attendees. We'll be sending out the slides, as I mentioned, in the next day or two to you guys. And if you have any questions, Chet and Andy's contact information is listed on here, and they'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So feel free to jot that down, and I'm interested in any feedback you have on the webinar. So hope you all have a great day. Goodbye.